Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of our program Languages of the World. Last time on our previous episode I promised to talk to you about the difference between reading a story, reading a novel and watching the movie based on that novel or story. Okay, in my point of view, of course, because this is something that people may agree or disagree upon. Some people may prefer to read the story or the novel. Some people prefer to watch the movie. Each has its pros and cons. And when I say pros and cons, pros means advantages and cons means disadvantages. So each has its pros and cons. Pro and con. All right. What are some of the pros and cons here? Well, actually, I myself prefer, of course, to read the story than watch the movie. And if I have to do both, then I will choose to read the story first and then watch the movie. Why? Because I believe that the story is the original thing. All right? It's the way the writer meant it. All right, so it's the original, and we love, of course, to know or to have or to get everything that is original. All right, so when a movie is turned into, or when a story is turned into a movie, a lot of things change. Maybe some characters appear or disappear. Some events appear or disappear. All right, a lot of things change. This is one thing. Another thing which is also very important is that when you read the story, actually you tend to imagine everything the way you like it. All right, so you actually have like in your mind the setting of that novel. So you start to imagine the places, you start to imagine the people, and you draw. The characters in your mind. It's your own mind. And in so many occasions, it happens that when you later on watch the movie, you'll find that, no, the story was better. Your imagination was better. The way you drew the people, the way you drew the places in your mind was much better than the directors has shown in the movie. All right, so this is really also another thing. When you read a book or when you read a novel, your mind is working all the time. You're imagining everything. And sometimes the way you imagine things is much better than the way other people, or perhaps like a director, does it for you. All right, so yeah, it's perhaps one of the disadvantages about reading a novel is that it takes a long time to finish a novel. Yeah, that's true. All right, so like you could watch the movie in maybe maximum 2 or 3 hours maximum. All right, although this is rare. Usually it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours, but you read the book maybe in 2 or 3 months. So yeah, sometimes, and it all depends on the time you give for that book. All right. So yes, it's much easier to just relax. All right, and put your legs up and watch a movie on TV or on YouTube or whatever, than to hold the book and keep on turning the pages all the time. Yeah, it's true. It's much easier to do that. But again, which is better? Which is more useful? Talking about the language, you learn a lot of vocabulary. You learn a lot of quotes. All right? You learn a lot of interesting stuff. And you start using your own imagination. All right? So I guess that's why I find it much better, much more fun to read the story. And if I have to watch the movie, all right, I'll do it later. So I read the book first, and then I watch the movie. But through my experience, every time, every single time, I did that, all right, like I read the book, or I read the novel, and then I watched the movie, I liked reading the book first. So I'm telling you something from my experience. Now let's move to something else, and in this part we're gonna learn something related to phrasal verbs. All right. First of all, let me remind you of the meaning of a phrasal verb. And this is something that is really unique to English, because in English we use a lot of phrasal verbs. All right. So they are like verbs in the form of a phrase, and the word phrase means like a small sentence. All right, a small or incomplete sentence. All right. So a phrasal verb is usually a verb that is used with some other words, usually prepositions, all right, and together they give a certain meaning. And this is what's hard about phrasal verbs, because you cannot usually guess the meaning of a phrasal verb. So let's just here, take an example. Let's see some examples. For example, the word take off. Take off. Actually, this word has multiple meanings. It has multiple meanings. All right. Let's see the meaning here. It means to leave the ground and begin to fly. All right. Like a plane, for example. The plane took off once the runway was clear. The helicopter took off from the platform. So the first thing is related to planes. Planes leaving the ground. Planes leaving the ground. Planes leaving the ground. We say in English or in Arabic, أقلعت الطائرة. أقلعت, the plane took off. All right, and it's the opposite of landed. And this is really very interesting, because it's really hard to find one word which means, or which has like two meanings in two different languages. Because here, if we look at the other meaning here, it says what? To remove clothing or things. Okay, so he took his tie off. He took off his tie. Can you please take your feet off the coffee table? Can you please take your feet off the coffee table? So here it means what? It means to remove something, remove what you're wearing. All right. الطائرة أقلعت، وبرضو القلع بنستخدمه في نفس الكلمة. يعني احنا في العربي نقول أقلعت، ويعني يمكن نقولها برضو يقلع هدومه مثلا. نفس المعنى في كلمة take off. Okay, like take off something, or you may also take your feet off the ground or the coffee table. هنا بتبعد رجلك يعني عن coffee. Another meaning here, which is to leave a place quickly. Perhaps this is a meaning that not so many learners know about. So to leave a place quickly. So when you leave a place quickly, you take off. He saw me coming and took off in the other direction. He saw me coming and took off in the other direction. The other one, the burglars took off before the police arrived. The burglars took off before the police arrived. Okay, so this is another meaning here is to become popular or successful. Like sales of their new product have really taken off. Taken off here means like yeah, became popular or successful. Her new song has taken off in the charts. Has taken off in the charts means like became one of the top songs. Another meaning, to not work for a period of time. So when you do not work for a period of time, you take off. I felt sick, so I took a couple of days off work. I took a couple of days off work. All right. He took 2 weeks off work for his honeymoon. He took, yeah. All right, like for example, I might decide not to go to work tomorrow, so I can take the day off. I can take the day off means I stay home, all right, and make it like a holiday. So this is one other. So each word, or just like words, phrasal verbs here. We're talking here about phrasal verbs. See, take and off. Take and off. And of course, O-double-F. All right? The other off is not off, it's of. So O-one-F is pronounced of. But O-double-F is pronounced off. So take off. See how many meanings it has. And we call these senses. Senses of the word, because every word has different senses. And senses means meanings. So take off as a phrasal verb. What is to take? To take means يأخذ, and off means بعيدا. بس هل المعنى هنا مع بعض يعني ماشي مع كل المعاني الموجودة؟ طبعا شايفين لها معاني مختلفة. So هو ده what is meant by phrasal verb. Okay, these words, the verb along with its preposition together have a certain meaning, or perhaps different meanings. Okay, so sometimes it's not just one preposition, sometimes it's more. All right, like when we say something like make up for. What is to make up for? Make up for. All right, you know something? Make up itself has a meaning, and make up for has a different meaning. All right? So, for example, if I say, yeah, I'll tell you something. Sometimes some people this is another phrasal verb. Some people fall out. Some people may fall out. What is to fall out? Fall out? No. To fall out means they stop talking to each other. So when you stop talking to each other, to somebody, when you stop talking to somebody, you fall out. You're no longer on speaking terms. You no longer talk to each other. All right? So this is to fall out. I usually fall out a lot, actually. I fall out a lot with my sisters, with my brothers, with my friends. All right, you can say, I fall out with my friends. I fell out with my friend. I fell out with my best friend. Okay, so usually when you fall out with somebody, it is for a short period of time, and then you become friends again, or on good terms again. All right, so you fall out with somebody. I fell out with my sister, for example. It means we stopped talking. But we soon, what happens following falling out with somebody? I mean, like you fall out, but then you become good again. You become friends again. You start talking again. So what happens here? بنتخاصم وبنتصالح. So to fall out يعني يتخاصم. طب يتصالح, it is to make up. To make up. All right. So we fell out, but we soon made up. See? Very simple. Made up. Made up. That's the meaning. So I fell out with my sister, but we soon made up. But we soon started to talk again, and everything became, we became friendly again. All right, but what is to make up for? To make up for is like to compensate for. Like, for example, when you waste a lot of time not studying throughout the whole year, and you just, you know, need to study everything. So during the last period, just before your exams, all right, just before your exams, you need to do what? You need to study very hard. And when you study very hard, you spend a lot of time studying. So you need to make up for lost time. That lost time, that time you wasted, you need to make up for it. يعني بتحتاج تعوضه. See? Make up for something يعني تعوض الحاجة دي. Okay? ممكن تعامل حد وحش. Alright? وممكن they ask you بعد ما تبقوا friendly again ان انت to make it up for him. To make it up for him يعني تعوضوا على اللي فات. see, it's really very important to learn about phrasal verbs. And there are actually some dictionaries, special dictionaries for phrasal verbs. But nowadays, everything is online. So whenever you just come across, and even the word come across, لما تصادف كده, whenever you come across any phrasal verb, you could just type it and get the meaning of it through the online dictionaries, through Google translation. And this is something that I'd really like to talk to you about perhaps later, which is how reliable translation is. Briefly, I'm going to tell you something. Do not depend on translators online to translate whole phrases for you. All right? Just to give you the meaning of words only. And I'll be talking to you later about that in more detail. But now, let's go out for a break and we'll be back. So we're back, and now let's move to talking about something else. This time we're going to talk about words, actually. Words have, you know, a stem. A stem is the main part of a word. Okay, sometimes we add other letters or parts to this word, be it at the beginning or at the end. So these words or these parts change the meaning sometimes, or change the class of that word in a sentence. Let's learn more about this in more detail. So the first thing is a prefix. What is a prefix? A prefix is a word part added to the beginning of a base word to change the meaning of that word. A word part added to the beginning of a base word to change the meaning of that word. So that part that we add at the beginning of a word to the stem is called a prefix. A prefix. And this is how to pronounce it. Let's take an example. For example, here, as you see here, there are some prefixes that have like a consistent meaning. For example, re. When re is added to words, usually it means to do something again. To do something again. All right? To do something again. Like here, reheat, to heat again. Replay, to play again. To recharge, to charge again. To reread, to read again. To rewrite, to write again. All right? To repaint, to paint again. So the word re here means to do something again. To do something again. all right, but not in all words. When this is only added to the stem, because some words naturally have the first letters RE, okay? So, like the word, for example, repeat. The word repeat, we do not have peat and repeat. No, we just have the word repeat. So, re here is part of the word. You cannot separate them, all right? So, because you cannot separate them, so we do not consider that the first RE is a prefix. No, all right? Also the word to read, read, it also has RE, but this is part of the stem, all right? So the other one is pre, and notice the way I pronounce the P here, all right? Pre means before, all right? When added to words, it means before, all right? Like pre-print, all right? To print something before, all right? And also pre-teen, all right? The age before teenage, all right? Pre-test, to test before, okay? So preschool, when we talk about preschool, we mean, of course, like kindergarten, okay? Pre-cook and prepay. So when you prepay something, you pay something before you like start doing something or getting some service. All right, so this is one. Another one is un, and usually it means not. So it's a prefix which means not. All right. So we have here also some examples like uncommon. Uncommon means not common. Uncommon means not common. So un here means not. All right. Unhappy, unsafe, uneven, and unfair. All right. Unroll, unhook. These words all have un, which gives the opposite meaning. All right, but there is something here that I want to talk about. Not every word, again, that starts with un give the opposite meaning, all right? Because, for example, look at the word understand. Understand. It starts with un. Does this mean that there is a word which is daristan and we add un, so it becomes understand? No. Actually, no. So, in this case, we say that this is not a prefix. Understand, it's like the whole thing is a stem. It's a stem, okay? There is nothing added here, because when we, usually use a prefix, it adds to the meaning, or it gives a different meaning. So we use it to change something here, all right? But the word understand, un, is part of the word itself. All right, so here we have also dis, which means not, like dislike, disable, disagree, dishonest, disobey, disappear, all right? And by usually means to, like bicycle, all right? Bilingual, biweekly, binoculars. So these words, as you see, are also prefixes, all right? Dis and by. This also gives opposite meanings, and by means to. Like, binoculars, all right? Binoculars, all right? We call it also bicycle. So this prefix by means to, all right? But also not in all words, of course. Okay, but this is something really very interesting, and it helps you a lot in improving your studying, improving your vocabulary, understanding and feeling the words, because this is something that a lot of people actually find hard to do, to feel the words, all right, that they know, the words of another language. So I hope that we've given you something useful on this episode, and we'll be seeing you again next week. So until then, we wish you all the best. Bye-bye.